Darius Cole's hands were still shaking when he signed his name on the marriage certificate. Not from nerves, from rage. Across the mahogany table, the Sterling family lawyer slid an envelope toward him. Inside, $200,000. Blood money, really. The price of marrying a woman he'd never met. A woman who hadn't spoken in 2 years. A woman whose own family had put her in that wheelchair and paid everyone to forget about it. But Darius's 7-year-old son was dying, and dying people don't get to keep their dignity. They just get to keep breathing. For now. Drop a comment with your city below so I can see how far this story travels. You won't believe what happens when he finally meets her. The pen felt wrong in Darius Cole's hand. Not because it was expensive, though it was some kind of Italian fountain pen that probably cost more than his monthly rent, but because of what he was signing away. His integrity, his independence, his last shred of pride. Mr. Cole. The lawyer's voice was clinical detached. Gerald Whitmore, Esquire, the kind of man who wore cufflinks on a Tuesday. If you're having second thoughts, I'm not. Darius wasn't having second thoughts. He was having thousandth thoughts. But thoughts didn't change reality. Reality was Elijah in a hospital bed with a heart that was giving up. Reality was $350,000 in medical bills and a savings account with $1,247.36. Reality was this contract that would make him a husband to a stranger and a liar to everyone who'd ever believed he was a man of principle. He signed. The scratch of pen on paper sounded like surrender. Excellent. Whitmore didn't smile. Men like him didn't smile, they approved. The funds will be transferred to the hospital directly. The surgery is scheduled for next month. And you'll move into the Sterling residence this weekend. What's she like? I'm sorry. Isabelle Sterling. Darius looked up from the contract. My wife. What's she like? Whitmore's expression flickered. Something almost human passed across his face before the professional mask returned. Miss Sterling is complicated. The accident was 2 years ago. Severe spinal trauma. She's been in a wheelchair since, and she doesn't speak. At all? Not since the night it happened. The doctors say there's no physical reason. No damage to her vocal cords or brain. She simply... He paused, choosing his words carefully. She simply chooses not to. Darius thought about that. Choosing silence. There was a story there, a bad one. Why me? He asked. There's got to be 1,000 caregivers in Atlanta. Professional ones. Why hire a welder who's got no medical training and a sick kid? Whitmore closed his briefcase with a sharp click. That's not my information to share. Mrs. Sterling, the mother, made the arrangements. She was very specific. Single father, working class. Someone who'd... He stopped. Someone who'd what? Someone who'd understand desperation. The words landed like a punch. Darius stood all 6'2" of him, unfolding from the leather chair. Years of working construction sites and welding pressure vessels had built him into something solid. Unmovable. But right now, he felt like paper. When do I meet her? Saturday, 10 a.m. Mrs. Sterling will give you the tour. Whitmore extended his hand. Welcome to the family, Mr. Cole. Darius didn't shake it. He walked out of that law office with $200,000 in the bank and the distinct feeling he'd just sold something he could never buy back. The apartment was quiet when he got home. Too quiet. Darius's sister Maya was on the couch, laptop open, pretending to work. But he could see the hospital website pulled up. The same page she'd been refreshing for 3 weeks. The transplant list. The wait times. The statistics that all said the same thing. Not enough donors, not enough time. He's asleep, Maya said without looking up. Had a good day. Ate half a sandwich. Watched some cartoons. And his breathing. Fine. The oxygen helped. Darius moved to Elijah's room. The door was cracked open the way his son liked it, not closed, not alone, but private. The boy looked so small in that bed. 7 years old and maybe 50 pounds soaking wet. His brown skin had taken on an ashy quality the doctor said was normal for heart patients. Normal. Like anything about this was normal. Like watching your child suffocate slowly from the inside was just another Tuesday. The oxygen tube snaked across his face. The pulse monitor blinked its steady rhythm. 62 beats per minute. Too slow. Always too slow. Darius sat in the chair beside the bed. The same chair he'd sat in every night since the diagnosis 6 months ago. The cushion had a permanent indent now, a monument to helplessness. "I did it," he whispered to his sleeping son. "I signed the contract. You're getting the surgery, buddy. You're gonna be okay." Elijah didn't stir, just kept breathing those shallow, insufficient breaths. "I have to go away for a while. Live in a big house with some people you don't know. But it's temporary. Just until you're better. Just until—" His voice cracked. He'd promised Elijah's mother he'd protect their son. Promised it while she was dying from that brain aneurysm 5 years ago. Promised it while holding a 2-year-old who didn't understand why mommy wouldn't wake up. Promised it every day since. And he'd failed. He couldn't afford the surgery. Couldn't find the insurance. Couldn't do anything but watch his son's heart slowly give up. Until this. Until a family he'd never met offered him money to marry their daughter who wouldn't speak. There was something deeply wrong with that equation. But Elijah would live, and that was all that mattered. Maya appeared in the doorway. "You signed it." "Yeah." "Darius." "Don't." He stood, kissed Elijah's forehead. The boy's skin was cool, too cool. "Don't tell me I had options. Don't tell me we could have figured something else out. We tried everything." "I know." Maya's voice was soft. She was 4 years younger but looked older lately. Worry did that. I don't trust these people. Rich families don't just hand out money. I don't trust them either." Darius moved past her into the hallway. "But I'm not marrying them. I'm marrying a girl in a wheelchair who can't tell anyone what she thinks about it. That's what worries me." It worried Darius too. So, Saturday arrived with the kind of humidity that made Atlanta feel like it was underwater. Darius dressed carefully. Not his work clothes, he'd learned that lesson in Whitmore's office. But not his Sunday clothes either. That felt like trying too hard. He settled on dark jeans and a button-down shirt his sister had ironed. "You look nice," Maya said from the kitchen. She was making Elijah breakfast. Oatmeal with honey, the only thing he could keep down lately. "I look like I'm going to a job interview." "You kind of are. Fair point." Elijah shuffled out of his room oxygen tank wheeling behind him. The mask hung around his neck like a necklace he couldn't take off. "Where you going, Dad?" Darius knelt down to his son's level. "Remember, we talked about me staying somewhere else for a little while." "The big house." "Right. The big house. I'm going to meet the people there today." Elijah nodded, processing this with the seriousness of someone who'd grown up too fast. "Is there a kid there?" "Nobody. Just grown-ups." "That's boring." Despite everything, Darius smiled. "Yeah, it probably is. But you'll stay here with Aunt Maya, and I'll call you every night before bed. And this is all so you can get your surgery, so your heart can get better." "I know." Elijah leaned into his father's shoulder. "You're doing it for me." The trust in that statement nearly broke him. "I love you, kiddo." "Love you too, Dad." Darius held his son for a long moment, memorizing the weight of him, the smell of his coconut shampoo, the sound of his too slow heartbeat against his chest. Then he stood, grabbed his keys, and walked out before he could change his mind. Yeah, the Sterling estate wasn't in Atlanta proper. It was in Buckhead, where old money went to pretend it wasn't surrounded by the rest of the world. Darius's pickup truck looked obscene on that street, rust spots and all. The gates were wrought iron, intimidating, the kind that said, "We have money older than your family line." He pressed the intercom. Name, Darius Cole. I'm here to see... The gate swung open before he finished. The driveway was longer than his entire block, lined with trees that looked professionally maintained. Probably were. Probably had their own arborist. The house rose at the end of the drive like something from a movie. Not the good kind. The kind where the family had secrets buried in the basement. A black woman in her 60s stood at the entrance. Elegant, composed. The kind of woman who'd probably never raised her voice in her life and didn't need to. Mr. Cole. Not a question. A statement. I'm Evelyn Marsh. I manage the estate. Nice to meet you, ma'am. Follow me, please. The interior was exactly what he expected. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, original oil paintings that probably cost more than his life insurance policy. Everything was white or cream or some shade of beige that said, "We don't worry about stains because we pay people to worry about them." Mrs. Sterling is in the sitting room. Evelyn said, her heels clicking on marble. She'll explain the arrangement. And Isabelle? Evelyn's pace didn't change, but something in her shoulders tensed. Miss Sterling is in the conservatory. You'll meet her after you speak with her mother. They walked through hallways that felt more like museum exhibits than a home. No family photos. No kids' artwork on the fridge. Nothing that suggested people actually lived here. The sitting room was all floor-to-ceiling windows and uncomfortable-looking furniture. A white woman in her late 50s sat on a settee that probably had a French name. Perfectly coiffed blonde hair. Pearls at 10 a.m. Champagne in a crystal flute even though it wasn't noon yet. Mr. Cole? She didn't stand. Didn't offer her hand. Just appraised him the way someone might examine a piece of furniture before purchasing it. I'm Catherine Sterling, Isabelle's mother. Ma'am. Darius stayed standing. Felt safer that way. Please sit. It wasn't a request. He sat. Catherine took a sip of her champagne, then set it down with deliberate precision. I assume Mr. Whitmore explained the terms? Most of them. Then let me be clear about the ones he didn't. Her voice was cold, controlled. The kind of cold that came from practice. You will marry my daughter legally. You will live here in the West Wing. There's a suite prepared for you. You will assist with her daily care. Physical therapy, medications, meals. You will not ask her about the accident. You will not discuss our family's private matters with anyone outside this house. And you will not under any circumstances encourage her to speak. That last part landed wrong. Why not? Catherine's smile was thin. Because Mr. Cole, my daughter's voice is the only thing keeping this family from complete ruin. As long as she doesn't speak, she can't testify. And as long as she can't testify, certain complications remain unresolved. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Testify about what? That's not your concern. Catherine stood smoothing her skirt. Your concern is caring for Isabelle and collecting your payments. Everything else is above your pay grade. Darius stood too. And if I have questions, then I suggest you keep them to yourself. She walked toward the door, then paused. Mr. Cole, I'm not unaware of what this arrangement looks like. But my daughter needs care, and you need money. It's transactional. Clean. Let's keep it that way. One question. Catherine turned eyebrow raised. Did Isabelle agree to this, the marriage, me being here, any of it? For the first time, something genuine flickered across Catherine Sterling's face. Guilt, maybe, or shame. My daughter is in no position to disagree with anything. She left the room. Evelyn appeared in the doorway. This way, Mr. Cole. Miss Sterling is waiting. The conservatory was at the back of the house. All glass walls and humidity. Tropical plants everywhere, ferns and orchids and things Darius couldn't name. It felt like stepping into a different climate. And in the center, surrounded by green and living things, sat Isabelle Sterling. The photos hadn't prepared him. Darius had seen the society pages, The charity galas, the images of a vibrant young woman with dark hair and darker eyes always smiling at the camera, like she knew something the rest of the world didn't. The woman in the wheelchair was a ghost of those photos. She was maybe 28, but looked older. Thin. Too thin. Her hair hung limp past her shoulders. Her skin had the pallor of someone who didn't see the sun enough. She wore a simple dress, gray formless, and sat motionless, staring at a wilting orchid in front of her. She didn't look up when they entered. "Miss Sterling," Evelyn said gently. "This is Darius Cole, your fiancé." Still no response. Evelyn gave Darius an apologetic look. "She's having one of her distant days. Sometimes she's more present than others." She left, closing the glass door behind her. Darius stood there, suddenly aware he had no idea what to do. He approached slowly. Not like she was fragile. He got the sense Isabelle Sterling was anything but like she was a deer that might bolt if he moved too fast. "Hi." His voice sounded too loud in the plant-filled space. "I'm Darius. I guess we're getting married." "Nothing." "This is weird, right? I mean, it's gotta be weird for you, too. Stranger showing up saying he's gonna be your husband." The orchid in front of her had brown spots on its petals, dying slowly. Darius pulled up a chair, sat at her level rather than looming over her. "I've got a son. Elijah. He's 7. Sick heart. That's why I'm here. Why I signed the contract. The money's for his surgery." He didn't know why he was telling her this. She wasn't responding, might not even be listening, but the silence felt too heavy not to fill. "I don't know what happened to you. Your mom made it pretty clear I'm not supposed to ask, but I figure you deserve to know who's going to be living in your house." Isabelle's hand moved, just a fraction, just her fingers twitching toward the dying orchid. Darius watched, fascinated. Her fingertips brushed the brown petal, gentle, mourning. Then her eyes shifted, not to Darius, but to him. Peripheral vision acknowledging his presence for the first time. And in those eyes, Darius saw something he recognized. Not emptiness, not resignation, rage. Quiet, controlled, burning rage. She was trapped. In that wheelchair. In this house. In her own silence. And she knew it. And she hated it. But she'd chosen it anyway. The question was why. "I'm not here to hurt you," Darius said quietly. "I'm just here to help my son. But if you need something, anything I don't know, nod or something, let me know." For a long moment, nothing. Then Isabelle Sterling did something remarkable. She reached out slowly and touched his hand where it rested on his knee. Just a brush of her fingers against his knuckles. Contact. Communication. Her hand retreated immediately. But the message was clear. "I hear you." Darius exhaled. Okay, that's good. That's a start." They sat there in the conservatory, surrounded by dying and living plants in equal measure, two strangers bound by contracts and circumstances they hadn't chosen. And Darius thought, what have I gotten myself into? The wedding was scheduled for the following Friday. Not a ceremony, not a celebration. A formality in a judge's chambers with 2 witnesses nobody knew, and a marriage license that felt like a prison sentence. Darius wore the same button-down shirt he'd worn to meet Isabelle. Isabelle wore white. Not a wedding dress, just a white dress. Simple. Almost clinical. Catherine Sterling attended with a lawyer Darius hadn't met before. Some younger guy in an expensive suit who never smiled and took notes through the entire 5-minute proceeding. Evelyn was there too. She'd wheeled Isabelle in and positioned her beside Darius in front of the judge. The judge was a tired-looking woman in her 60s who'd clearly done this exact ceremony 1,000 times and had stopped finding meaning in it around ceremony number 3. "Do you, Darius Cole, take Isabelle Sterling to be your lawfully wedded wife?" He looked down at Isabelle, She was staring at her lap. I do. And do you, Isabelle Sterling, take Darius Cole to be your lawfully wedded husband? Silence. Everyone waited. The judge shifted uncomfortably. Miss Sterling? Catherine leaned forward. Your Honor, my daughter is unable to speak due to medical complications from her accident. She's indicated her consent through legal documentation. I need verbal or physical confirmation, the judge interrupted. They all looked at Isabelle. Darius knelt down beside her wheelchair, bringing himself to her eye level. Isabelle, you gotta give some kind of sign, a nod, anything. She finally looked at him, those dark eyes meeting his, and Darius saw it again, that rage, that trapped, furious thing burning behind her silence, but also something else. A question. Will you hurt me? I'm not going to hurt you, Darius whispered. I promise. Isabelle studied his face for a long moment. Then slowly, deliberately, she nodded once. The record will show the bride's affirmative consent, the judge said quickly, clearly wanting this over with. By the power vested in me by the state of Georgia, I now pronounce you husband and wife. No one said, you may kiss the bride. The lawyer handed Darius a pen. He signed the marriage certificate. Then they wheeled it over to Isabelle. She stared at it for a long moment, pen hovering over the signature line. Darius wondered if she'd refuse, if this whole thing would fall apart right here. But she signed, quick, efficient, final. And just like that, Darius Cole was a married man. Catherine Sterling stood immediately. The car is waiting. We need to get Isabelle home before she gets tired. No congratulations, no reception, no pretense this was anything but a transaction. Darius followed them out of the courthouse into the brutal Atlanta sun. A black town car waited at the curb. The driver loaded Isabelle's wheelchair while Catherine gave Evelyn instructions Darius couldn't hear. Mr. Cole, Catherine turned to him. Your belongings. In my truck, not much. I can move in tomorrow. Today. You'll move in today. She softened her tone by a fraction. The sooner you establish a routine with Isabelle, the better. Meaning, the sooner you're there to keep her quiet, the better. Darius nodded. I need to say goodbye to my son first. Of course. Be at the estate by 6. Dinner is at 7. Don't be late. She got in the town car without another word. Evelyn lingered. Congratulations, she said, though her tone suggested condolences might be more appropriate. Thanks. Mr. Cole? She lowered her voice. Isabelle is... She's not what they've made her into. The silent, broken thing. She's still in there, still fighting. You'll see. How do you know? Evelyn smiled sadly. Because I've been with this family for 20 years. I watched her grow up, and I watched what they did to her after the accident. She's not broken. She's protecting herself. There's a difference. She walked to the car, leaving Darius standing on the courthouse steps in a button-down shirt and a marriage he didn't understand. His phone buzzed. A text from Maya. How'd it go? Darius typed back. I'm married. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, oh honey. Yeah, that about summed it up. He went straight from the courthouse to his apartment. Maya and Elijah were watching cartoons. Some show about robots Darius didn't understand. Dad. Elijah's face lit up. You're back. Darius scooped up his son, careful of the oxygen tube. Hey buddy, miss me. You were gone for like 3 hours. Felt longer. Darius carried him to the couch, sat down with Elijah in his lap. Maya muted the TV. So, she asked. So I'm married to a woman who won't talk, living in a mansion with people who definitely have bodies buried somewhere and moving in tonight. Tonight. They want me there for dinner. Establish a routine. He squeezed Elijah gently. Which means, I gotta say goodbye to you for a while. Elijah's smile faded. How long? I don't know, but I'll call every night, and you can call me anytime, day or night. and I'll visit on weekends. But you won't be here. No, buddy, I won't be here. Elijah was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, is your new wife nice? Darius thought about Isabelle, about the rage in her eyes and the gentle way she touched that dying flower, about how she'd signed her name on a marriage certificate to a stranger without protest. I think so, he said honestly. I think she's been hurt really bad, and she's trying to survive it the only way she knows how. Like how you were sad after Mom died. Kids, they just went right for the heart. Yeah, like that. Elijah nodded, satisfied with the answer. Then you should be nice to her, because you liked it when Aunt Maya was nice to you. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Darius held his son tighter. When did you get so smart? I was always smart. You just noticed. Despite everything, the courthouse wedding, the contract, the dying boy in his arms, Darius laughed. He spent the next 2 hours with Elijah, playing video games, reading his favorite book about a kid who built a rocket ship, making promises he prayed he could keep. At 5:30, he packed a duffel bag. Not much. Clothes, toiletries. A photo of Elijah and his late wife. The only picture he had where all three of them were happy. Ready? Maya asked from the doorway. No. Yeah, me neither. Darius hugged his sister. Take care of him. I always do. She pulled back, held his face. And you take care of yourself. Don't let those people make you forget who you are. Yes, ma'am. One more hug with Elijah, one more promise to call, one more moment of being just a father with his son. Then Darius walked out of his apartment, got in his truck, and drove toward a mansion in Buckhead where his silent wife was waiting. The sun was setting. The sky was bleeding orange and purple, and Darius Cole couldn't shake the feeling he'd just made a deal with the devil. He just wasn't sure which Sterling was the devil yet. The West Wing had its own entrance, its own staircase, its own everything really, like the Sterlings had designed the house to keep certain people separate from the main family. Darius wondered if that was intentional or just how rich people lived. Evelyn met him at the side door with a key. Your suite is on the 2nd floor. Miss Sterling's room is directly across the hall. There's a monitor system, audio only, so you can hear if she needs assistance during the night. A baby monitor? Essentially, yes. Evelyn handed him the key. Mrs. Sterling insists on it, for safety. Or for surveillance. Darius took the key. Where is Isabelle now? Her room, resting. The courthouse was exhausting for her. Evelyn started up the stairs, Darius following with his duffel bag. She has good days and bad days. Today was somewhere in between. Does she ever have great days? Evelyn stopped on the landing, turned to face him. Not since the accident. But she used to. She used to be so full of life, studying botany at Emory, always bringing home plants, filling her room with green things. She had this laugh that just, her voice caught. I'm sorry. It's not professional to be emotional. It's human, Darius said. Being emotional about someone you care about is just human. Evelyn smiled, small and sad. She's lucky you're here. I don't know about that. I do. Evelyn continued up the stairs. The last caregiver lasted 3 weeks, treated Miss Sterling like a patient, not a person. Before that, there were nurses who came and went. All professionals, all terrible at actually seeing her. She opened a door at the top of the stairs. This is yours. The suite was bigger than his entire apartment. Bedroom, sitting area, private bathroom. Everything decorated in shades of blue and gray that probably had designer names like Ocean Mist or Twilight Sage. It's nice, Darius said, because what else do you say when someone shows you a room that costs more per month than you made in a year? Dinner is at 7 in the main dining room. Miss Sterling usually eats in her room, but Mrs. Sterling has requested you both join the family tonight. Evelyn's tone suggested this wasn't good news. I'll come get you at 1:45. She left him alone in his expensive prison. Darius unpacked his duffel bag in about 3 minutes, hung his 3 shirts in a closet that could fit 50. Put his toothbrush in a bathroom with marble counters and gold fixtures. Set the photo of his family on the nightstand. Then he sat on the bed, actual California king, not the full size he'd been sleeping on for 8 years, and called Elijah. Maya answered on the first ring. "Hey, you there?" "Yeah, it's..." He looked around the room. "It's something. Good something or bad something? Rich something. Where's Elijah?" "Bathroom. Hold on." Rustling sounds. Then, "Your dad's on the phone." Footsteps. Heavy breathing. "Dad. Hey buddy, just wanted to let you know I made it safe." "Is the house really big?" "Huge. I could fit our whole apartment in my bathroom." Elijah giggled. "That's silly." "It's true though." Darius lay back on the bed. "How you feeling?" "Okay. Tired? But okay." "You take your medicine." "Yes, Dad." The exasperated tone of a kid who'd been asked this question 1,000 times. "Good. I love you." "Love you too." "Is your wife there?" "She's in her room resting." "Did you tell her I said she should be nice to you?" Darius smiled despite everything. "Not yet. But I will." They talked for a few more minutes about nothing important, Elijah's cartoons, what Maya was making for dinner, whether Darius's new room had a TV, until Elijah started yawning. "Get some rest, buddy." "Okay. Call me tomorrow." "Every day. Promise." He hung up and lay there in the silence of his blue-gray suite, listening to the house settle around him. Rich houses sounded different than poor ones. No neighbors through thin walls. No traffic outside. Just quiet. Heavy, expensive quiet. A knock on his door at 6:45. Evelyn stood in the hallway. "Ready?" "As I'll ever be." She led him across the hall to Isabelle's door, knocked softly. "Miss Sterling, it's time for dinner." No response. Evelyn opened the door anyway. Isabelle's room was different from his. Where his was all masculine blues and grays, hers was white. Everything white. White walls, white furniture, white curtains. Like a hospital room trying to pretend it wasn't. Except for the plants. They were everywhere. On the windowsills hanging from hooks covering every available surface. Some were thriving, most were dying. Brown leaves, wilted stems. The botanical graveyard of someone who'd stopped having the energy to care. Isabelle sat in her wheelchair by the window, dressed in a different dress, this one pale blue, staring at nothing. "Miss Sterling," Evelyn said gently, "your mother wants you at dinner tonight." Still nothing. Evelyn looked at Darius helpless. He approached Isabelle, slowly crouched down beside her wheelchair. "Hey, I know you probably don't want to go to dinner. I don't either. But your mom seems pretty insistent, and I get the feeling she's not someone who takes no for an answer." Isabelle's eyes shifted to him. That same peripheral acknowledgement. "So here's what I'm thinking," Darius continued. "We go down there. We eat whatever fancy food they're serving. We don't talk well. You never talk, and I'll talk as little as possible, and then we come back up here and never speak of it again. Deal?" For a long moment, nothing. Then Isabelle's hand moved to the wheelchair control. She turned it on the soft electronic hum filling the room. "I'll take that as a yes," Darius said. They made a strange procession down the hallway. Isabelle's wheelchair leading Darius, walking beside her, Evelyn trailing behind. Through corridors that felt more like museum halls than a home. Past paintings of stern-faced ancestors and furniture that looked like it would break if you sat on it. The dining room was exactly what Darius expected. Long mahogany table. Crystal chandelier. Place settings that included more forks than any human needed. Catherine Sterling sat at the head of the table, champagne already poured. To her right was a man in his 60s, had to be Mr. Sterling in a suit, even though it was dinner at home. Salt and pepper hair. Cold eyes, the expression of someone who'd spent his life buying his way out of problems. And to Catherine's left sat a younger man, Late 20s, pretty boy, handsome in that way that came from good genetics and better skin care. He had Catherine's blonde hair and Mr. Sterling's calculating eyes. He was on his phone typing furiously, barely acknowledged their entrance. Isabelle. Catherine's voice was warm in that fake way people used when performing affection. You look lovely. And Darius. Welcome. She gestured to chairs at the far end of the table. Please sit. Darius helped position Isabelle's wheelchair at the table, then sat beside her. They were a solid 10 feet from the rest of the family. Might as well have been different rooms. Darius, Catherine continued, this is my husband, James Sterling, and our son, Carter. James nodded once, didn't extend his hand, didn't smile. Carter didn't look up from his phone. It's nice to meet you both, Darius said, because someone had to say something. A staff member he hadn't met before brought out the first course. Some kind of soup that smelled like herbs and looked like something people ate because it was expensive, not because it tasted good. Catherine raised her champagne glass. A toast to Isabelle and Darius. May your marriage be exactly what this family needs. She didn't say happy, didn't say blessed, just what this family needs. They drank. Well, Catherine and James drank. Carter was still on his phone. Isabelle stared at her soup. Darius sipped water and wondered what he'd gotten himself into. So Darius. James spoke for the first time. His voice was gravelly worn. Catherine tells me you're a welder. Yes, sir. Industrial. Mostly pressure vessels and structural steel. Interesting work. It pays the bills. Paid the bills, Carter muttered, still not looking up. Can't imagine marriage pays better than welding. The table went silent. Catherine's smile tightened. Carter? What I'm just saying, what everyone's thinking. Carter finally put down his phone, looked at Darius for the first time. You're here for the money. Everyone knows it. Let's not pretend this is some fairy tale romance. Carter. That's enough. James's voice carried warning. Is it, though? Carter leaned back in his chair. Because I think it's fascinating. My sister has an accident, stops talking, and suddenly, Mom decides she needs a husband, a stranger. And we're all just supposed to pretend this is normal. Darius set down his spoon carefully. You're right. It's not normal. But it's the arrangement your mother made, and I signed the contract. So, here we are. Here we are? Carter repeated, smirking. And where exactly is here? You playing nurse babysitter? Or is there some other service you're providing? Carter. Catherine's voice cracked like a whip. Apologize. Now. For what? Asking questions no one else will. Darius looked at Isabelle. She'd gone completely still. Her hands gripped the armrests of her wheelchair so hard her knuckles had gone white. She was terrified. No, not terrified. Furious. And suddenly Darius understood. Carter wasn't just being an asshole. He was threatening her, reminding her he could say whatever he wanted and she couldn't respond. You know what? Darius pushed back from the table. I think Isabelle and I are going to eat upstairs tonight. She's tired. Sit down, Mr. Cole. James's voice carried authority. You're part of this family now. You'll eat at this table. With all due respect, sir, I don't think I am part of this family. I think I'm an employee you're pretending is family because it makes the paperwork look better. Darius stood. And employees get to choose where they eat. He moved to Isabelle's wheelchair, started to turn it. Catherine stood too. If you walk out of this room, the contract is void. Darius stopped. Excuse me. Clause 17. The caregiver must maintain family relationships and attend family functions when requested. Walking out of dinner violates that clause. His hands tightened on the wheelchair handles. You're threatening me. I'm reminding you of your obligations. Catherine's mask had slipped. This was the real her. Cold, calculating, willing to use his dying son as leverage. Sit down. Finish your meal. This is how this family works. Darius looked down at Isabelle. She was still gripping those armrests, her whole body rigid. Then she did something remarkable. She reached up and touched his hand where it rested on the wheelchair handle. The same gesture from the conservatory. Brief, gentle, but clear. "It's okay. Stand down." Darius pulled out his chair, sat back down. The rest of dinner passed in excruciating silence. More courses appeared. Fish beef, some kind of dessert that tasted like cardboard covered in sugar, and everyone pretended the last 10 minutes hadn't happened. Carter went back to his phone. James ate mechanically. Catherine made small talk about the weather and upcoming charity events that required nothing but nods in response. Isabelle didn't touch her food, just stared at her plate while her untouched meal went cold. When it was finally over, Catherine dabbed her mouth with a linen napkin. "Darius, tomorrow, we'll go over Isabelle's medication schedule and therapy routines. Be ready at 8 a.m. "Yes, ma'am." "And Darius, in this family we don't make scenes. We handle our disagreements privately." "Noted." He stood, turned Isabelle's wheelchair, and got them out of that dining room as fast as he could without actually running. Neither of them spoke until they were back in the West Wing doors closed safe. Darius helped Isabelle to her bed, a process that involved a transfer bar and careful movements. She was light, too light, like she'd stopped eating long before tonight. Once she was settled, he sat in the chair by her window. That was... He stopped searching for the right word. Messed up. That was really messed up. Isabelle stared at the ceiling. "Your brother, Carter. He did something to you, didn't he? Something beyond the accident." No response. But her breathing had changed. Faster, shallower. "You don't have to tell me," Darius said quickly. "But I need you to know something. I signed a contract. I'm here for the money, that's the truth. But..." He leaned forward. "But I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. Not him. Not your parents. Not anyone. That's not in the contract. That's just me." "Okay." Isabelle turned her head, looked at him directly for the first time all night. Her eyes were wet. She reached for her phone on the nightstand, typed something, held it up. The automated voice read, "Thank you." 2 words, but they cracked something in Darius's chest. "You're welcome." He stood. "I'm right across the hall if you need anything. And I mean anything. Middle of the night, whatever. Just, I don't know, make noise. I'll hear the monitor." He moved toward the door. The automated voice spoke again. "Wait." Darius turned. Isabelle was typing, her fingers moving faster now. The voice read, "My brother was driving drunk. He hit someone. I was in the car. I'm the only witness. If I testify, he goes to prison. If I don't, he walks. They're keeping me silent." The words hung in the air like smoke. Darius walked back to her bedside. "Is that why you stopped talking, to protect him?" She typed, "To protect myself. If I can't talk, I can't be forced to testify. Can't be manipulated into lying for them. Can't be used." Jesus! Darius sat back down. "How long has it been?" 2 years, 3 months, 14 days. The precision of that answer told him everything. "And your parents?" "Know everything, arranged everything, paid everyone, including you." That hit like a fist to the gut. "I didn't know. They didn't tell me." "I know." More typing. "You're different. You asked if I agreed to this. No one else asked that." "Did you agree?" Long pause. Then, "I agreed to stop fighting. That's not the same as agreeing." Darius thought about that. About the difference between consent and surrender. About how people could trap you in a gilded cage and call it protection. "What do you want?" he asked. "Not what they want. Not what keeps everyone comfortable. What do you want?" Isabelle stared at her phone for a long time. Her fingers hovered over the keys but didn't type. Finally, I don't remember anymore. The honesty of that, the raw, painful honesty, made Darius's throat tight. Then maybe we figure it out together, he said. I've got to be here anyway. Might as well make it mean something. Why would you do that? Because my son told me I should be nice to you, and that kid's the smartest person I know. For the first time since Darius had met her, Isabelle Sterling smiled. It was small. It barely counted. But it was real. She typed, "Tell him thank you." I will. Darius stood again. Get some rest. Tomorrow's probably going to be another fun day with your family. He left her room, closed the door softly, and stood in the hallway breathing like he'd just run a marathon. Across the hall, his phone was ringing. Maya. Hey. Hey yourself. How was dinner with the in-laws? Imagine the worst family dinner you've ever been to, multiply it by rich people entitlement, and add in some light extortion. That's about right. Maya was quiet for a moment. You okay? I don't know. Darius sat on his expensive bed in his expensive room. These people, Maya, they're not just rich, they're corrupt. And Isabelle, she's trapped in the middle of it. Can't talk because if she does, she destroys her whole family. That's heavy. Yeah. You sure you want to stay there? Darius thought about Elijah's surgery, about the contract he'd signed, about Isabelle's smile, small and scared but real. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not when your kid is dying. Maya sighed. Fair. Just be careful. Okay, rich people problems have a way of becoming everyone's problems. I'll be careful. They talked for a few more minutes about Elijah. He'd had a good evening, ate some dinner, watched a movie before Darius hung up. He lay in his California king bed in his blue-gray suite in a mansion in Buckhead and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow he'd learn medication schedules and therapy routines. Tomorrow he'd play the role of dutiful husband to a woman he barely knew. Tomorrow he'd pretend this arrangement was normal. But tonight he'd learned something important. Isabelle Sterling wasn't broken. She was buried. And maybe, just maybe, Darius could help her dig her way out. Even if it meant digging himself deeper into this mess. The monitor on his nightstand crackled to life. Soft sounds from Isabelle's room. Movement. Then quiet crying. The kind that came from years of practice. Muffled, controlled, but unmistakable. Darius lay there listening, hands clenched at his sides. He'd promised not to let anyone hurt her. But what do you do when the person hurting her most was herself? The crying continued. Soft, steady, heartbreaking. Darius got up, crossed the hall, knocked softly on her door. Isabelle, can I come in? The crying stopped. A moment later, the automated voice, yes. He opened the door. She was still in bed, still in the dark, tears tracking down her face, catching the moonlight from the window. Darius didn't ask if she was okay. That was a stupid question with an obvious answer. Instead, he pulled the chair closer to her bed and sat down. When my wife died, he said quietly, I cried every night for 6 months. Elijah was only 2. He'd hear me and come into my room. Just climb into bed with me. He didn't say anything. Couldn't really talk yet anyway. But he'd just be there. And somehow that made it better. Not okay, but better. Isabelle was watching him now. I don't know what you're going through, Darius continued. Can't even imagine really. But I know what it's like to feel trapped. Like the world's moving on, and you're just stuck screaming inside where nobody can hear you. More tears slid down her face. So I'm not going to tell you it gets better or that you're strong or any of that bullshit people say when they don't know what else to do. He leaned forward. I'm just going to sit here, if you want, so you're not alone. For a long time, Isabelle just stared at him. Then she reached out her hand. Darius took it. Her grip was weak, but desperate. Like she was drowning, and he was the only thing keeping her afloat. They sat like that in the darkness. A stranger and his silent wife holding hands like children afraid of the dark. Eventually, her breathing evened out. The tears slowed. Her grip loosened as exhaustion took over. But Darius didn't let go. He sat there all night, hand in hers, while she finally slept without crying. And in the morning, when the sun crept through her white curtains and painted everything gold, Isabelle woke to find him still there. She typed on her phone, "You stayed." "I said I would." Most people don't mean it when they say that. I'm not most people. She almost smiled again. No, you're really not. A knock on the door. Evelyn's voice. "Miss Sterling, it's time for your morning medications." Reality rushed back in. The mansion, the contract, the family that wanted Isabelle silent and compliant. Darius stood, his hand slipping from hers. "I should go. Let you get ready." But as he reached the door, Isabelle's automated voice stopped him. "Darius." He turned. "Thank you. For last night. For staying." "Any time," he said. And meant it. He left her room, crossed to his own, and got ready to start his first real day as Isabelle Sterling's husband. Whatever that meant. Whatever it would cost. He called Elijah before breakfast, heard his son's sleepy voice say, "Morning, Dad," and felt his resolve strengthen. This arrangement, this mess of contracts and silence and rich people covering up crimes, wasn't what Darius wanted. But it was buying Elijah's life. And if staying meant sitting in the dark holding a stranger's hand while she cried, Darius could do that. He'd do a lot worse for his son. The question was, how much worse would this family ask him to do before it was all over? Catherine Sterling arrived at Isabelle's room at exactly 8 a.m. with a leather-bound binder that looked like it weighed more than Isabelle did. "Good morning." She didn't wait for an invitation, just walked in while Evelyn was helping Isabelle into her wheelchair. "Darius, this is Isabelle's care schedule. I expect you to follow it precisely." Darius took the binder, flipped it open. Page after page of medications, dosages, times. Physical therapy exercises with diagrams. Meal plans. Bathroom assistance protocols. It read less like a care plan and more like an instruction manual for keeping someone alive, but not living. "This is a lot," he said. "My daughter requires significant care. That's why you're here." Catherine turned to Isabelle, her voice shifting to that fake warmth again. "How are you feeling today, darling?" Isabelle stared at the wall. She had a difficult night. Catherine continued talking about her like she wasn't there. "But she'll rally. She always does. Evelyn, make sure she eats breakfast. She's lost too much weight." "Yes, ma'am." Catherine moved toward the door, then paused. "Darius, a word. In private." He followed her into the hallway. She closed Isabelle's door behind them. "I want to be clear about something," Catherine said, her voice dropping the pretense entirely. "You seem like a decent man. That's why I chose you. But don't mistake decency for license to interfere with how this family operates." "I'm not sure what you mean." "Last night, at dinner, Carter was out of line and you made it worse by reacting. In this family, we handle things quietly, internally. We don't make scenes." Darius kept his voice level. "Your son insulted me and threatened Isabelle. I'm supposed to just sit there." "Yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do." Catherine stepped closer. "You're being paid very well to care for my daughter. Not to have opinions about family dynamics. Not to play hero. Just to keep her comfortable and quiet until this situation resolves itself." "And when does it resolve itself?" Catherine's smile was thin and cold. "That's not your concern. Your concern is your son's surgery, which I'll remind you is entirely dependent on you fulfilling your contract. Are we clear?" Every instinct in Darius's body screamed to tell her exactly where she could shove her contract. But then he thought about Elijah's labored breathing, his weak heart, the surgery that was scheduled for 3 weeks from now. "We're clear." "Good." Catherine's mask slipped back into place. "Isabelle has physical therapy at 10. The therapist comes here. Make sure she's ready." She walked away, heels clicking on hardwood, leaving Darius standing in the hallway, feeling like he'd just been bought and reminded of the price. He went back into Isabelle's room. Evelyn was setting up her breakfast on a tray table. Oatmeal, fruit, orange juice, none of which Isabelle was touching. "She doesn't eat much anymore," Evelyn said quietly. "I can see that." Darius pulled up a chair. "Isabelle, you need to eat something." She typed on her phone. "Not hungry." "I don't care. You're too thin. Humor me." Her eyes flashed with something that might have been annoyance or amusement. Hard to tell. She picked up the spoon, took one bite of oatmeal, put the spoon down. "That's it?" Darius asked. "That's more than yesterday," Evelyn said, gathering her things. "I'll be back at noon for her medications." She left them alone. Darius looked at the binder, then at Isabelle. "Your mom gave me this. It's like a manual on how to keep you alive without actually letting you live." Isabelle's fingers moved. "Welcome to my world." "How long has it been like this?" "Since the accident. They turned me into a patient. Easier to control that way." Darius set the binder aside. "You know what I'm not following that thing." Her eyes widened slightly. "Don't get me wrong," he continued. "I'll make sure you get your meds and do your therapy. But all this micromanaging, treating you like you're made of glass, that stops now." "Why?" "Because you're not broken, and I'm not going to treat you like you are." For a moment, Isabelle just stared at him. Then she typed, "They'll fire you." "Let them try. The contract says I have to care for you. Doesn't say I have to do it their way." Something flickered across her face. Hope maybe, or fear that hope would disappoint her again. "What do you want to do today?" Darius asked. "What?" "You heard me. What do you want to do?" "Not what's scheduled, what you actually want." Isabelle looked at her phone for a long time. When she finally typed, her fingers were shaking. "I want to go outside, not the conservatory. Outside, outside. I haven't been outside in 6 months." "Then let's go outside." "The schedule." "Screw the schedule. Physical therapy's not until 10. That's 2 hours from now. We've got time." "Catherine will." "Your mother can deal with it." Darius stood. "Come on, before I lose my nerve." He wheeled her through the house past the conservatory toward the back entrance. A staff member he didn't recognize gave them a questioning look, but didn't stop them. The back terrace opened onto a garden that probably had its own grounds crew. Manicured hedges, stone pathways, flower beds that were transitioning from summer to fall. The morning air was crisp, carrying that particular Atlanta combination of humidity and heat that made everything feel close and far away at the same time. Darius wheeled Isabelle down the ramp onto the main path, then stopped where the sun hit full force. "Good spot." She didn't type, just tilted her face toward the sun and closed her eyes. They sat there in silence. Birds were singing. Somewhere in the distance a lawnmower hummed. Normal sounds, life sounds. After a few minutes, Isabelle's phone chimed. "I forgot what this felt like." "What sunshine?" "Freedom, even if it's just an illusion." Darius sat on a nearby bench. "It's not an illusion. You're outside. That's real. Real would be walking away from this house and never coming back." "Why don't you—" Her laugh was silent, but her shoulders shook. She typed, "Where would I go? I have no money of my own. No friends, they all disappeared after the accident. No job skills. I studied botany, but never finished my degree. I'm completely dependent on them." "What about other family, aunts, uncles, grandparents?" "Dead or bought off. The Sterlings are very good at making people disappear." The casual way she said that sent chills down Darius's spine. "Are you safe here?" "Safe from what? Physical harm, yes. Emotional harm, no. But they need me alive and quiet, so I'm valuable, like expensive furniture they can't throw away." "That's messed up." "That's my life." She typed for a while, then, "What's your son like, Elijah?" The subject change was deliberate. Darius let her have it. He's great. Smart, funny, brave as hell even when he's scared. Looks like his mom. Acts like her too, thank God. I'm just the guy who tries not to screw him up too much. You love him. More than anything. That's why you're here. Yeah. I'm sorry, Isabelle typed, that my family is using your son's life as leverage. Not your fault. Feels like it is. Her fingers paused. Then, everything that happens in this family feels like my fault. Carter's drinking, the accident, the cover-up. If I'd just kept my mouth shut from the beginning. Stop. Darius leaned forward. None of that is your fault. Your brother chose to drive drunk. Your parents chose to cover it up. You're just the one who got hurt worst and is being punished for it. I'm not being punished. Really. Because from where I'm sitting, you're in a prison. Fancy one, sure, but still a prison. Isabelle was quiet for a long time. When she finally typed again, her message was simple. I don't know how to get out. Maybe you don't have to know. Maybe you just start with small things, like going outside. She looked at him, then really looked at him, and Darius saw something shift in her expression, like she was seeing him as a person for the first time, instead of just another piece in her family's game. Why are you being nice to me? She typed. You don't have to be. The contract doesn't require kindness. My son told me to be nice to you. And honestly, I think you've had enough people in your life who weren't kind. Figured I could be different. You are different. She hesitated, then added, Thank you. For what? For treating me like a person. For asking what I want. For this. She gestured at the garden, the sun, the open air. For remembering I'm still here. Darius's throat tightened. You're welcome. They stayed outside until 9:45 when Evelyn appeared on the terrace looking worried. Mr. Cole, the physical therapist is here. Mrs. Sterling is asking where you are. Tell her we're coming. Darius stood, moved behind Isabelle's wheelchair. Ready to go back to prison? Her automated voice carried what might have been humor. I've been ready to leave prison for 2 years. Going back is never ready. The physical therapist was a woman in her 40s named Patricia, who had that aggressively cheerful demeanor of someone who'd learned to smile through other people's pain. Good morning, Isabelle. How are we feeling today? Isabelle didn't respond. Patricia didn't seem bothered. She'd clearly done this routine 100 times. All right, let's get you on the mat. Mr. Cole, can you assist with the transfer? The next hour was brutal to watch. Patricia put Isabelle through a series of exercises that looked painful and pointless. Stretching atrophied muscles, moving legs that didn't want to move. All while maintaining that cheerful patter that felt more like torture than encouragement. Great job, Isabelle. You're doing so well. Let's try 5 more. Isabelle's face was blank, but her hands gripped the mat so hard her knuckles went white. Does she have to do all this? Darius asked. Patricia looked up surprised. Of course. Maintaining muscle tone is essential even in cases of permanent paralysis. Permanent? The doctors have been clear. The spinal trauma was severe. Isabelle will never walk again. Darius looked at Isabelle. Her face hadn't changed, but something in her eyes had gone dark. Have you tried other approaches? He pressed. Different therapies, specialists, anything? Mr. Cole, I appreciate your concern, but I've been Isabelle's therapist for 18 months. This is the protocol. Patricia's cheerfulness had acquired an edge. Now, if you'll excuse us, we need to finish her exercises. Darius stepped back but didn't leave. He watched Patricia manipulate Isabelle's legs. Watched Isabelle's silent endurance. Watched this whole performance of care that felt more like maintenance. When it was finally over, Patricia made notes in her chart. Same time Thursday, Isabelle. Keep up the good work. She left. Darius helped Isabelle back into her wheelchair. You okay? She typed. I hate physical therapy. I can see why. She treats you like a doll. Everyone does. Not everyone. Isabelle looked at him, then typed, "No, not everyone." The rest of the day fell into the rhythm Catherine's binder demanded. Medications at noon and 6. Lunch that Isabelle didn't eat. Dinner that she picked at. Hours of sitting in her white room staring at her dying plants. Darius called Elijah 3 times. Heard about his day cartoons, a drawing he'd made, how much he missed his dad. Each call was a reminder of why Darius was doing this. Why he was staying in this house with these people. That night, after Isabelle was in bed, Darius sat in his room scrolling through his phone. He pulled up search results for Isabelle Sterling accident Atlanta. The articles were all from 2 years ago. Brief mentions. Local woman injured in traffic accident. Sterling family requests privacy during difficult time. Nothing about Carter. Nothing about drunk driving. Nothing about the truth. But then he found something. A smaller article from a community blog. An interview with the other driver's family. The semi-truck driver who'd been blamed for the accident. Who'd lost his job, his CDL, his livelihood. James Morrison's family maintains his innocence, the article read. But without witnesses willing to testify and facing a well-funded legal team, Morrison accepted a settlement to avoid bankruptcy from legal fees. Darius clicked on the linked documents. Found the settlement amount, $50,000. Probably just a fraction of what the Sterlings spent on legal fees. This family hadn't just covered up a crime. They'd destroyed an innocent man's life to do it, and Isabelle had been trapped in the middle, the only witness who could clear Morrison's name and send Carter to prison where he belonged. A soft sound from the monitor. Isabelle moving in her room. Then her automated voice faint through the speaker. "Darius." He was across the hall in seconds. "Yeah." She was sitting up in bed, her phone glowing in the dark. "Can't sleep." "Me neither. Too much thinking." "About what?" Darius hesitated, then, "About James Morrison, the truck driver." Isabelle went very still. "I looked up the accident," Darius continued. "Found articles about him, about how your family blamed him for what Carter did." She started typing rapidly. "I tried to tell them, after the accident, when I could still talk. I told the police, the lawyers, everyone. I said Carter was drunk, that he ran the light, that Morrison did nothing wrong. But they all had the same answer. The evidence doesn't support that. All the evidence my parents had already destroyed." "So you stopped talking?" "So I stopped talking." She typed more. "If I can't talk, I can't be forced to lie under oath. Can't be manipulated into protecting Carter. Can't be used to destroy another innocent person. Silence was the only power I had left. But Morrison's life is already destroyed." "I know." Even through the automated voice, the pain was evident. "I know. That's what I live with every day. An innocent man's life ruined because I wasn't strong enough to fight harder. You were in a wheelchair, traumatized. Your family was threatening you. I should have been stronger." The phone's volume was up too high. Her automated voice echoed in the room. Isabelle grabbed the phone, turned it down, typed more carefully. "I should have fought, but I was so tired and scared. And I told myself silence was protecting everyone. But really, I was just protecting myself." Darius sat on the edge of her bed. "Hey, listen to me. You survived. That's not nothing. You survived your family trying to erase you. That takes strength. Survival isn't enough. Sometimes it is. Sometimes survival is all you can manage, and that's okay." "Is it?" she typed furiously. "Because I don't feel okay. I feel like a coward, like I've let everyone down. Morrison, myself, even Carter in a twisted way, because he'll never face consequences, never get help, never have to be accountable. And it's my fault for not being brave enough." "You know what I think," Darius said. "I think you're being brave right now. Telling me all this, being honest about it, that's not cowardice? Then what is it? It's the first step. First step to what? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out." Isabelle stared at her phone for a long moment, then typed, "Why do you keep saying we? This isn't your fight." "It is now. I'm your husband, remember? On paper at least. And husbands are supposed to have their wives' backs. Even fake husbands in fake marriages. Especially those." Darius smiled. "Those are the ones that have the most to prove." She almost smiled back. Almost. "I should let you sleep," Darius said, standing. "Wait. More typing. Would you stay like last night, just until I fall asleep?" "Yeah, of course." He pulled the chair close to her bed, sat down. She reached out her hand. He took it. They sat like that in the darkness, two people trapped in different prisons, holding on to each other like lifelines. "Darius." Her automated voice was barely a whisper. "Yeah. I'm glad you're here. Even though the circumstances are terrible. Even though my family is using you. I'm glad it's you." His throat felt tight. "Me too." She fell asleep eventually, her breathing evening out, her hand relaxing in his. But Darius stayed awake, thinking about James Morrison, about Elijah's surgery, about Isabelle's silent prison and Carter's unpunished crime, about how sometimes doing the right thing meant risking everything, and about how, maybe, just maybe, there was a way to help both Isabelle and Elijah without destroying either one of them in the process. He just had to figure out what that way was. The next morning, Darius woke up in the chair beside Isabelle's bed, his neck stiff and his hand still holding hers. She was already awake, watching him with those dark, searching eyes. "Morning," he said, voice rough with sleep. She held up her phone. "You stayed all night again." "Told you I would." "Most people don't keep promises to me." "Then most people are idiots." She actually laughed. Silent, but her shoulders shook and her eyes crinkled at the corners. It transformed her face, made her look younger, less haunted. Darius wanted to make her laugh again. Wanted to see what she looked like when she wasn't carrying the weight of her family's sins. A knock at the door. Evelyn with breakfast. "Good morning, Miss Sterling? Mr. Cole." Her eyebrows raised slightly, seeing Darius there, but she didn't comment. "Mrs. Sterling wants to see you both after breakfast, in her study." Darius's stomach sank. "Did she say why?" "No, sir, just that it's important." After Evelyn left, Isabelle typed, "This won't be good." "Probably not, but we'll handle it." We. She looked at him for a long moment, then typed, "Okay. We." Catherine's study was all dark wood and leather, power furniture, intimidation decor. She sat behind a massive desk, reading glasses perched on her nose, reviewing documents that probably contained the life savings of people she'd destroyed. "Sit." She didn't look up. Darius wheeled Isabelle in front of the desk, then sat beside her. Catherine removed her glasses, folded them with deliberate precision. "I've received a concerning report from Patricia. She says you questioned her treatment approach, that you implied she wasn't doing her job correctly." "I asked if there were other options," Darius said. "That's not questioning her competence. It's questioning my judgment. I chose Patricia. I approved her treatment plan, and I don't appreciate having my decisions undermined. With all due respect, ma'am, I'm Isabelle's caregiver now. If I see something that concerns me, I'm going to ask about it." Catherine's smile was ice. "You're an employee, not a medical professional, not a family member despite the paperwork. You're here to follow instructions, not to have opinions. And if my opinion is that Isabelle deserves better care than she's getting." The temperature in the room dropped. "Careful, Mr. Cole. You're dangerously close to violating your contract." "Which clause?" "The one where I have to care for Isabelle, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do." Catherine stood, came around the desk. "Let me make something very clear. My daughter is paralyzed, permanently. That's been confirmed by multiple specialists. The physical therapy is maintenance, not cure. And your job is to accept that reality and help Isabelle accept it too, not to give her false hope. What if the specialists are wrong? They're not. But what if they are? What if her paralysis is psychological trauma-based? What if... Enough! Catherine's voice cracked like a whip. She turned to Isabelle. Is this what you want him filling your head with impossible fantasies? Isabelle didn't respond, just stared at her mother with that blank expression she'd perfected. I thought not. Catherine moved back to her desk. Darius, you have one job. Keep Isabelle comfortable and quiet. If you can't do that, the contract is void. And your son, don't. Darius stood. Don't threaten my son. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm reminding you of reality. Your son's surgery is in 2 weeks. The hospital requires full payment up front. If you're not employed by this family, that payment doesn't happen. She sat down, put her glasses back on. So I suggest you remember your place and stop trying to be a hero. Heroes are expensive, and you can't afford that cost. Darius wanted to tell her exactly where she could shove her money and her contract. Wanted to wheel Isabelle out of that study and out of this house and away from these people who'd turned cruelty into an art form. But then he thought about Elijah's weak heart. About the surgery scheduled for 14 days from now. About how his son's life depended on Darius swallowing his pride and playing along. Understood, he said quietly. Good. You're dismissed. He turned Isabelle's wheelchair toward the door. Isabelle. Catherine's voice stopped them. Your brother will be visiting this afternoon. I expect you to be pleasant. Isabelle's hands gripped her armrests. And Darius. You'll give them privacy. Carter wants to speak with his sister alone. Every instinct in Darius screamed danger. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't recall asking for your thoughts. Catherine looked up from her papers. Carter is her brother. He has every right to visit. Now go. Darius wheeled Isabelle out of the study down the hallway back toward the west wing. Neither of them spoke until they were safe in her room with the door closed. Then Isabelle started typing, her fingers shaking. I can't see him alone. I can't. He'll say things, do things, remind me of what happened, and Hey. Darius knelt beside her wheelchair. You're not seeing him alone. You heard my mother. She said, I heard what she said. And I'm telling you, you're not seeing him alone. She'll void the contract. Your son. We'll be fine. We'll figure something out. Darius took her hands. They were ice cold. But I'm not leaving you alone with someone who hurts you. I don't care what the contract says. Tears were streaming down Isabelle's face. Why are you doing this? Because it's the right thing to do. The right thing costs you everything. Then that's what it costs. Darius squeezed her hands gently. Isabelle, I made you a promise. I said I wouldn't let anyone hurt you, and I meant it. Even if it means losing everything. She pulled her hands free, typed rapidly. You don't understand. Carter is dangerous, not physically but mentally. He knows exactly what to say to break me. And if he tells my mother you interfered, she'll destroy you. She'll make sure you never see Elijah again, never work again, never. Then we'll deal with it. Together. Darius stood. What time is he coming? 3 o'clock. He always comes at 3. Darius checked his watch. 2 hours. Okay, here's what's going to happen. When he gets here, I'll be in the room. Not hovering, not obvious. But there. And if he says one thing that crosses a line, I'm ending the visit. Your mother can do whatever she wants after that. She'll ruin you. Probably. Darius smiled grimly. But at least I'll still be able to look at myself in the mirror. Isabelle stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Like the concept of someone choosing principle over self-preservation was completely alien. Maybe in her world it was. Thank you, she finally typed. No one's ever stood up for me before. Well, Darius said, I guess there's a first time for everything. Carter arrived at exactly 3 o'clock, like punctuality could erase the drunk driving and the lies, and the innocent man whose life he'd destroyed. Darius heard the front door, heard voices in the main hall, heard Catherine's saccharine greeting. Then footsteps, coming toward the west wing. Isabelle had gone rigid in her wheelchair. Her hands gripped the armrests so hard her fingers had gone white. Her breathing had changed shallow and rapid, like she was preparing for an attack. "I'm right here," Darius said quietly from his position near the window. Close enough to intervene, far enough to not be immediately obvious. The knock was perfunctory. Carter didn't wait for a response before opening the door. He looked different in daylight. Less polished than at dinner. His hair was messy, his eyes bloodshot. He smelled like expensive cologne trying to cover cheaper whiskey. "Isabelle." He said her name like an accusation. Then noticed Darius. "What's he doing here?" "I'm her husband," Darius said evenly. "Where else would I be? Mom said I could see my sister alone. Your mother says a lot of things. I'm staying." Carter's jaw tightened. For a moment Darius thought he might argue. But then he shrugged, moved into the room, pulled a chair close to Isabelle's wheelchair. Too close. "You're looking good, sis. Healthier." Isabelle didn't respond. Didn't even look at him. "Come on, don't be like that." Carter's tone was cajoling, manipulative. The voice of someone who'd spent his life talking his way out of consequences. "I know you're upset with me, but it's been 2 years. Don't you think it's time to move past all this?" Still nothing. Carter leaned back, ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I came here to apologize. Again. For the accident. For everything that happened after. I know it was hard on you." Darius watched Isabelle's face. It remained blank, but her knuckles had gone from white to bloodless. "The thing is," Carter continued, "I've been thinking a lot lately. About that night. About what really happened. And I'm starting to remember things differently than I did before." Darius went very still. "I remember you being really upset that night," Carter said, his voice thoughtful, like he was working through a puzzle. "We'd been arguing. You'd been drinking. A lot, actually. More than me, if I'm being honest." Isabelle's breathing had stopped entirely. "And I'm starting to think maybe you were the one driving." Carter continued, each word deliberate, poisonous. "Maybe that's why you won't talk. Not because you're protecting me, but because you're protecting yourself." "That's enough." Darius stepped forward. Carter didn't even glance at him. "I mean, it would make sense, right? Why you'd lock yourself in this silence. Why you'd refuse to testify. Because if you did, you'd have to admit the truth. That you're the one who destroyed that truck driver's life. That you're the reason you're in that wheelchair." "I said that's enough." Darius moved between Carter and Isabelle. Carter finally looked up at him. "Or what? You'll throw me out. This is my family's house. You're just the help." "I'm her husband. You're a paycheck with a pulse." Carter stood, got in Darius's face. "You think you matter here? You think your opinion counts? You're a band-aid on a bullet wound, a temporary solution to a permanent problem." "What problem is that?" Carter smiled cold and sharp. "My sister's conscience. See, Isabelle has this annoying habit of wanting to do the right thing. Even when the right thing destroys everything. So Mom hired you to keep her comfortable, keep her quiet, keep her from making the biggest mistake of her life. Testifying against you isn't a mistake. It is if the story changes." Carter moved back to Isabelle's wheelchair, crouched down to her level. "And it can change, sis. Very easily. My lawyers already planted seeds with the police. Questions about whether the original investigation was thorough, whether witnesses were reliable, whether maybe, just maybe, the wrong person got blamed." Isabelle's whole body was shaking now. "So here's what's going to happen." Carter said, his voice dropping to a whisper that Darius could barely hear. "You're going to stay quiet, like you have been. And I'm going to move on with my life. And everyone wins. You don't have to carry the guilt of sending your own brother to prison. Mom and Dad don't lose their son. And that truck driver." He shrugged. "He's already lost everything. What's a little more injustice in the grand scheme?" Get away from her. Darius grabbed Carter's shoulder, pulled him back. Carter spun, shoved Darius hard. Don't touch me. Then get out. This is my house. It's Isabelle's house, and I'm telling you to leave. Carter laughed bitter and sharp. You really think you're the hero here? You think saving some crippled girl from her mean family makes you noble? You're just as bought as everyone else. The only difference is you're cheap. Darius's fist connected with Carter's jaw before he made a conscious decision to throw the punch. Carter stumbled back, hit the wall, touched his lip where blood was already welling up. You just assaulted me. You verbally assaulted your sister. I'd say we're even. Mom's going to fire you, have you arrested, destroy you. Then she better get started. Darius moved to the door, opened it. Get out, now. Carter straightened, smoothed his shirt, wiped blood from his mouth with the back of his hand. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. You don't come near Isabelle again. You don't talk to her. You don't even think about her. Or next time, I won't stop at one punch. Carter looked past Darius to Isabelle, still shaking in her wheelchair. This is what you want. Some thug for a husband. Isabelle reached for her phone with trembling hands, typed. The automated voice was steady, even though her fingers weren't. Get out of my room. Her voice. Her words. Her choice. Carter's face went red. You'll regret this, both of you. He stormed out, nearly running into Evelyn in the hallway. Darius closed the door, leaned against it, tried to get his heartbeat under control. His knuckles were already swelling. Isabelle was crying. Silent, devastating sobs that shook her whole body. Darius crossed to her, knelt down. Hey, he's gone. You're safe. She grabbed her phone, typed through tears. He's right. I should have been driving. I was there. I saw everything. And I did nothing. Said nothing that mattered. Let an innocent man take the blame because I was too weak to fight. Stop. You were traumatized. Your family was threatening you. You did what you had to do to survive. Survival isn't enough. Her automated voice was too loud, echoing. Morrison lost everything. His job, his reputation, his life. And I let it happen. I'm as guilty as Carter. No, you're not. He made the choice to drive drunk. Your parents made the choice to cover it up. You're the victim here too. I don't feel like a victim. I feel like a coward. Darius took her hands. They were freezing. Then maybe it's time to stop being one. She looked at him, tears streaming. What? Testify. Tell the truth. Clear Morrison's name. I can't. The trial is over. The settlement is signed. It's too late. It's never too late for the truth. We'll find a lawyer, a real one, not one on your parents' payroll. We'll figure out how to reopen the case. They'll destroy you. Your son's surgery. I'll figure something out. How you need that money? Elijah needs that surgery. Darius was quiet for a moment. Then, my son needs his father to be a man he can be proud of, not someone who stands by while innocent people get crushed. That's easy to say when it's not your child dying. You're right. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever considered. But it's also the right thing, and sometimes those are the same thing. Isabelle pulled her hands away, typed furiously. I can't let you sacrifice your son for me. I won't. It's not for you. It's for Morrison, and for Elijah. So he knows his father stood for something. He'll know his father died for nothing, because that's what will happen. My parents will make sure the surgery doesn't happen. They'll tie you up in legal battles. They'll ruin any chance you have of saving him. She was right. Darius knew she was right. But sitting in that room with Isabelle crying, and Carter's threats still echoing, and the weight of all the lies pressing down, he couldn't see another way forward. Then what do? He asked. Just let them win. We survive, like I've been doing, like you need to do for Elijah. That's not living. That's just not dying. Sometimes that's all you get. The resignation in that statement broke something in Darius's chest. A sharp knock on the door. Catherine's voice, cold and furious. Darius Cole, open this door immediately. Here we go, Darius muttered. He opened the door. Catherine stood there with Carter beside her, his lips still bleeding. Behind them, James Sterling, looking more interested than he had at dinner. And a man in a suit Darius didn't recognize. Lawyer, probably. They traveled in packs. "You struck my son," Catherine said. "No question, just fact. Your son was verbally abusing his sister. I removed him from the situation. By assaulting him. By defending her. There's a difference." Catherine's smile was pure ice. "Mr. Cole, you violated your contract. Multiple clauses, in fact. Failure to maintain family relationships, physical violence, insubordination. Your employment is terminated effective immediately." Darius had known this was coming, had known it the moment his fist connected with Carter's jaw, but hearing it still felt like a gut punch. "And my son's surgery is no longer our concern." "Mom, wait." Everyone turned to look at Carter. His lip was swelling. "Maybe we're being hasty." Catherine frowned. "Excuse me. He did assault me, that's true. But maybe we can use this." Carter looked at Darius with calculation in his eyes. He's clearly protective of Isabelle. Willing to do anything for her. That's valuable. "What are you suggesting?" James spoke for the first time. "I'm suggesting we don't fire him. We renegotiate. Give him stronger incentives to keep Isabelle quiet, and to keep himself quiet too." Darius's stomach turned. "I'm not interested in being blackmailed." "It's not blackmail," Carter said. "It's a new arrangement. You keep Isabelle comfortable and compliant. You make sure she doesn't decide to suddenly find her voice and testify about anything. And in exchange, we don't just pay for your son's surgery. We pay for his ongoing care, specialists, medications, everything he'll need for the rest of his life. And if I refuse, then we press charges for assault. You go to jail. Your son gets no surgery. And we hire someone else to care for Isabelle, someone less principled." Carter smiled, bloodied lip and all. "Your choice." Darius looked at Isabelle. She was staring at her lap, tears still falling. He thought about Elijah, about his weak heart and his too slow breathing, and his absolute trust that his father would protect him. He thought about James Morrison, innocent and destroyed. He thought about what kind of man he wanted to be versus what kind of man his son needed him to be. "I need time to think," Darius said. "You have until tomorrow morning," Catherine said. 9 a.m. Come to my study with your answer." She turned to leave, then paused. "And Darius, choose wisely. You won't get another chance." They left. All of them. Even the lawyer who hadn't said a word but whose presence was threat enough. Darius closed the door, sat on the floor with his back against it, put his head in his hands. Isabelle wheeled closer, typed, "Take the deal." "I can't." "You have to. Elijah needs you." Elijah needs a father who isn't a coward. He needs a father who's alive, who's there, who isn't in prison. Darius looked up at her. "And what do you need?" She was quiet for a long time, then typed, "I need you to save your son, even if it means sacrificing me." "I'm not sacrificing you." "You already did when you signed the contract. This is just making it official." "That's not fair." "Life isn't fair. If it was, I'd be walking, and Morrison would have his life back, and Carter would be in prison where he belongs. But fairness doesn't exist in this family, only survival." Darius stood, paced the room. His knuckles throbbed, his head pounded. Everything felt like it was closing in. His phone rang. Maya. He answered. "Hey." "Hey, yourself. Bad time." "The worst." "Well, it's about to get worse. Elijah had an episode. Bad one. We're at the hospital." Darius's world stopped. "What?" "His heart. It's struggling more than usual. The doctors are stabilizing him now, but they're saying the surgery needs to happen sooner. Like next week sooner." "I'm on my way." "Darius, they're also saying the cost went up. Something about complications requiring a bigger surgical team. It's now $425,000. $425,000. $75,000 more than the original contract. I'll handle it, Darius said, his voice hollow. How the Sterling money doesn't cover the increase. I said I'll handle it. He hung up, looked at Isabelle. She'd heard everything through the speaker. You have to take the deal, she said through her phone. There's no other choice now. There's always a choice. Not when your child is dying. Darius's legs gave out. He sat on her bed, head in his hands. I don't know what to do. Isabelle wheeled closer, put her hand on his knee. When he looked up, she was typing, You do what any good father would do. You save your son, no matter the cost. The cost is you, and Morrison, and my integrity. Integrity doesn't keep people alive. Money does. That's a terrible philosophy. It's a true one. Darius's phone buzzed. A text from Maya with a photo. Elijah in a hospital bed, oxygen mask on, eyes closed. The caption read, He asked for you. Tears burned Darius's eyes. His son needed him, was asking for him, was fighting for his life while Darius sat in a mansion trying to be noble. I have to go to him, Darius said, standing. Of course, go. Will you be okay? Isabelle typed. I've been alone for 2 years. One more night won't kill me. Darius grabbed his keys, then paused at the door. Isabelle, I'm sorry. For what? For not being the hero you needed. She typed quickly. You're exactly the hero I needed. You just have a son who needs you more. That's not wrong. That's human. Darius left before he could change his mind or say something he'd regret. The drive to the hospital was a blur. Traffic lights, highway exits. The parking garage where he'd parked his truck 1,000 times during Elijah's appointments. Maya met him in the waiting room. Her eyes were red. How bad? Darius asked. Bad. They've got him on more oxygen, stronger meds. But his heart is giving out faster than they predicted. The surgeon says if they don't operate within a week, it'll be too late. Where is he? Room 347. He's sleeping now, but he was asking for you before they sedated him. Darius started toward the elevator. Darius. Maya caught his arm. What are you going to do about the money? Whatever I have to. He took the elevator to the 3rd floor, found room 347, pushed open the door. Elijah looked so small in that hospital bed. Wires everywhere, monitors beeping, his chest rising and falling with mechanical assistance. Darius sat in the chair beside the bed, took his son's hand. It was warm and small and perfect. Hey, buddy, he whispered. Dad's here. Elijah's eyes fluttered open. Dad? Right here. I was scared. I couldn't breathe and everything was beeping and... His voice caught. Shh. It's okay. You're okay. The doctors fixed it. For now, Elijah's eyes were too old for 7, but not forever, right? Darius's throat closed. The surgery will fix it forever. Promise? He should have said yes, should have lied, should have given his son the comfort of certainty, but he'd spent too many days watching Isabelle live in a prison of lies. I promise I'll do everything in my power to make sure you're okay, Darius said. That's all anyone can promise. Elijah nodded, satisfied with the honesty, even if the answer wasn't what he wanted. Is your new wife nice? The question startled a laugh out of Darius. Yeah, buddy, she's nice. Does she make you happy? She makes me think. And sometimes that's better than happy. That's weird, Dad. Yeah, it kind of is. Elijah's eyes were drooping, the sedatives pulling him back under. Love you. Love you too, kiddo, so much. His son fell asleep holding his hand. Darius sat there in the beeping quiet and made his decision. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., he'd go to Catherine Sterling's study. He'd tell her yes. He'd take the deal. He'd help them keep Isabelle silent and Morrison destroyed and Carter free. He'd become the man he'd sworn he'd never be. But Elijah would live. And in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Evelyn. I need to talk to you. It's about Isabelle and the accident. There are things you don't know. Things that change everything. Can we meet?" Darius stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed back, "When and where?" Because maybe, just maybe, there was another way, even if he couldn't see it yet. Evelyn's response came through 30 seconds later. "Waffle House on Piedmont, midnight. Come alone." Darius checked the time. 10:47 p.m. Maya was already dozing in the chair by the window. Elijah was sleeping peacefully, his monitors showing stable numbers for the first time in hours. He kissed his son's forehead, whispered, "I'll be back," and left before he could second-guess himself. The Waffle House was nearly empty at midnight. Just a couple of truckers, a waitress who looked like she'd seen every kind of human tragedy, and Evelyn sitting in a back booth with a cup of coffee she wasn't drinking. Darius slid into the seat across from her. This is dramatic. This is necessary. Evelyn's usual composure was cracked. Her hands shook slightly around the coffee cup. "I've worked for the Sterlings for 22 years, watched Isabelle grow up, watched them break her, and I stayed quiet because I needed the job, needed the money, needed to convince myself I wasn't complicit. But I can't do it anymore, not after today, not after watching Carter threaten her and you actually stand up to him. Nobody stands up to that family." Evelyn reached into her purse, pulled out a manila envelope. "This is everything. Police reports they paid to have buried, witness statements that disappeared, medical records that contradict the official story, and a dash cam video from Carter's car that his lawyer made vanish." Darius's heart was pounding. "You've had this the whole time. I made copies 2 years ago when I realized what they were doing. Call it insurance, call it conscience, call it whatever you want, but I kept them." She pushed the envelope across the table. "The video is the important part. It shows everything. Carter driving drunk, Isabelle begging him to pull over, the crash, and it shows something else too." "What?" Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "It shows Isabelle trying to get out of the car after the crash to help Morrison. She wasn't paralyzed immediately. She was moving, crawling toward his truck, and then Carter grabbed her, pulled her back, told her to stay down and stay quiet. Told her if she said anything, he'd make sure she went down too, and she hit her head on the car door. That's what caused the spinal trauma, not the accident. Carter." The words hung in the air like poison. He paralyzed his own sister to keep her quiet. He didn't mean to. But yes, and the family covered it up, paid the doctors to say the injuries were from the initial impact, paid the police to lose evidence, paid everyone to make sure the truth stayed buried. Darius opened the envelope with shaking hands. Police reports stamped confidential, medical records with notes in the margins, witness statements that contradicted the official narrative, and a USB drive labeled Carter's Dashcam, March 15, 2023. "Why are you giving this to me now?" "Because you love your son enough to sell your soul for him, and I respect that, but Isabelle loves you enough to let you, and I can't respect that." Evelyn leaned forward. "She's been in prison for 2 years protecting a family that destroyed her, and now she's willing to stay there so your son can live. That's not love. That's martyrdom, and I won't watch it anymore. If the Sterlings find out you gave me this, I know, I'll lose my job. Probably worse. They have lawyers who specialize in making problems disappear." She smiled grimly. "But I'm 63 years old. I've watched that girl suffer for 2 years. If I don't do something now, I'll die having stood for nothing." Darius looked at the envelope. Evidence that could free Isabelle. Clear Morrison's name. Send Carter to prison. Destroy the Sterling family's carefully constructed lies. And cost Elijah his life. "I don't know what to do with this," he admitted. "Yes, you do. You're just afraid of what it costs." "My son is dying." "I know. And I'm not telling you what to choose. I'm just giving you the truth. What you do with it is up to you." Evelyn left a $20 bill on the table for her untouched coffee. "For what it's worth, I think you're a good man in an impossible situation. And there's no shame in choosing your child. But there's also honor in choosing what's right. You have to decide which one you can live with." She walked out, leaving Darius alone with an envelope full of truth he didn't want. He sat there for 20 minutes, staring at it. The waitress refilled his coffee twice without asking. The truckers paid their bills and left. The night shift changed over. Finally, Darius put the envelope in his jacket and drove back to the hospital. Maya was awake when he returned, scrolling through her phone. "Where'd you go?" "Had to meet someone." "This late, Darius, what's going on?" He sat heavily in the chair. "I'm in over my head, Maya. Way over." "What else is new?" She smiled, trying to lighten the mood, but when he didn't smile back, her expression shifted. "Talk to me." So he did. He told her everything. The contract, the cover-up, Carter's threats, the new deal, and the envelope currently burning a hole in his jacket with evidence that could save Isabelle and doom Elijah. When he finished, Maya was quiet for a long time. "What are you going to do?" she finally asked. "I don't know." "Yes, you do. You're going to save our nephew. You have to. And let an innocent man stay destroyed. Let Isabelle stay trapped. Let Carter walk free." "Yes." Maya's voice was firm. "I know that sounds terrible. I know it goes against everything Mom and Dad taught us about doing right. But Darius, this isn't your fight. You didn't cause this. You can't fix it. All you can do is save Elijah. By becoming complicit in a cover-up. By being a father first." She grabbed his hand. "Listen to me. I love that you want to be the hero. I love that you see injustice and want to fight it. But you have a 7-year-old boy in that bed who needs his daddy more than some woman you barely know needs her white knight. She's not some woman, she's my wife. On paper, for money. This isn't real, Darius. It's a business transaction that got messy. Don't lose sight of what actually matters. And what if Elijah grows up and finds out? Finds out his father had evidence to clear an innocent man and buried it to save him. What does that teach him?" Maya's eyes flashed. "It teaches him his father loved him more than anything. More than pride. More than principles. More than some fairy tale about justice. It teaches him he was worth saving. Or it teaches him that money matters more than truth. That power wins. That doing the right thing is for suckers who can afford it. Then you teach him better. You raise him to be the man you wish you could be in this situation. But you raise him alive, Darius, not as a martyr to your conscience." They stared at each other across Elijah's sleeping form, two people who loved the same child but couldn't agree on how to save him. "I need to think," Darius finally said. "You need to choose, and you need to choose him." Maya stood. "I'm going to the cafeteria. When I come back, I want to hear that you're taking the Sterling deal and ending this before it destroys all of us." She left. Darius sat in the quiet room listening to his son breathe with mechanical help. The envelope felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. His phone buzzed. A text from Isabelle. "Are you with Elijah? Is he okay?" Darius typed back. "He's stable, sleeping." "Good. I'm sorry about all of this. About my family using your son. It's not right." "None of this is right." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, appeared again, then. "Take the deal tomorrow, please. I can survive 2 more years of silence. Elijah can't survive without that surgery." Darius stared at the message, then typed, "What if there was another way?" "There isn't." "But what if there was?" Long pause. Then, "I'd say dreams are expensive. And you can't afford them right now." She was right. He knew she was right. But sitting there in that hospital room with his son's weak heartbeat beeping on the monitor, and truth literally in his pocket, Darius couldn't shake the feeling that some choices defined you forever. That some crossroads determined not just what you did, but who you became. He pulled out his phone, Googled James Morrison Atlanta truck driver. Found a Facebook page. A man in his 50s, hollow-eyed, wearing a gas station uniform in his profile picture. His bio read, "Just trying to rebuild." Darius clicked through his photos. Morrison with a woman who must have been his wife, both smiling at a barbecue. Morrison with 2 kids, teenagers at their high school graduation. Morrison holding a baby grandfather written all over his face. A whole life, destroyed by one family's lies. And Darius held the truth in his hands. His phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Mr. Cole? This is Raymond Whitmore. We met briefly at the contract signing." The Sterling lawyer. Darius's stomach dropped. "What do you want?" "To give you some advice. Free of charge, which should tell you how serious I am." Whitmore's voice was tired. "I know Evelyn gave you the evidence. I know because I'm the one who told her where to find it." "You what?" "I've been the Sterling family attorney for 15 years. I've done things for them that keep me up at night. But I drew a line at destroying that girl, and I certainly drew a line at letting Carter's lies bury an innocent man." Whitmore paused. "The Sterlings don't know I kept copies. They don't know Evelyn had access. But they will figure it out eventually. Rich people always do." "Why are you calling me?" "Because you have a choice to make tomorrow morning, and I want you to know that if you choose to take that evidence to the district attorney, I'll back you up. I'll testify. I'll provide documentation. I'll burn my entire career to make sure the truth comes out. And if I don't, if I take their deal, then I'll respect that too. You've got a dying kid. Nobody with a soul would judge you for choosing him." Whitmore sighed. "But Mr. Cole, I've spent 15 years helping rich people avoid consequences, and I can tell you from experience that kind of compromise doesn't just cost you once, it costs you every day for the rest of your life. My son will need his father around, I know, but he'll need a father who can look him in the eye. Can you do that if you bury this evidence?" Darius didn't have an answer. "Think about it," Whitmore said. "You've got until 9 a.m. Whatever you decide, I'll support. But make sure it's something you can live with." He hung up. Darius sat there in the darkness, his son sleeping, his phone full of messages from Isabelle, telling him to save himself, and an envelope full of evidence that could save everyone except Elijah. The impossible math of morality. Save one innocent man and one trapped woman by sacrificing his son, or save his son by sacrificing 2 people he barely knew. When Maya came back 20 minutes later, she found Darius on his knees beside Elijah's bed, praying for the first time since his wife died. "Please," he whispered, "please show me the right answer. Please don't make me choose between my son and my soul." But the machines just kept beeping, and morning kept coming whether Darius was ready or not. He stayed at the hospital until 6 a.m. when the nurses changed shifts and Maya forced him to go home and shower. "You smell like hospital and regret," she said. "Go. I'll stay with E." Darius drove back to the Sterling mansion in silence. The sun was rising, painting Atlanta in shades of gold that felt cruel in their beauty. The world shouldn't be beautiful when everything was falling apart. He parked his truck in the circular drive, sat there for a moment, trying to gather strength he didn't have. Evelyn met him at the door. Her eyes asked the question her mouth didn't. "I don't know yet," Darius said. "You have 3 hours to decide." He went to his room, showered, put on clean clothes, sat on his bed, and opened the envelope one more time. The USB drive felt tiny in his palm. Such a small thing to hold so much power. He plugged it into his laptop, waited while the file loaded. The video was grainy dashcam quality, but clear enough. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m., March 15, 2023. Carter was driving, weaving slightly. Isabelle in the passenger seat. "Pull over, Carter, please. You're drunk." "I'm fine. Stop being dramatic." "You're not fine. You've had 6 drinks. Maybe more. Please just pull over and I'll drive us home." "I said I'm fine." Carter's voice was slurred, angry. "God, you're such a nag. just like Mom. I'd rather be a nag than dead. We're not going to die. Jesus, I've driven drunk 100 times. That doesn't make it okay. The car swerved. Carter overcorrected. Isabelle grabbed the dashboard. Slow down. I'm going 40. The speed limit's 30, and the light's red. I can make it. Carter, no. The impact was sudden and violent. The camera shook. Glass breaking, metal crunching, Isabelle screaming. Then silence. The camera was at an angle now, showing the interior. Isabelle was slumped against the airbag, blood on her face. Carter was groaning conscious. Then Isabelle moved. Slowly. Painfully. But she moved. We have to help him, she said, her voice shaky. The truck driver. We have to. She opened her door, started to get out. Carter grabbed her arm. Don't. He could be hurt. Isabelle, listen to me. If you get out of this car, if you help him, if you say anything, we're both going to prison, both of us. Is that what you want? You were driving drunk. You ran a red light. This is your fault. And you were in the car. You're an accessory. You'll go down too. Carter's voice was desperate, manipulative. Just stay here. Stay quiet. I'll call Dad. He'll fix this. Fix this, Carter? You could have killed someone. But I didn't. We're alive. He's probably alive. Nobody has to know the truth. Isabelle was crying now. This is wrong. This is so wrong. Please, Isabelle. Please. I'm your brother. I need you. She hesitated. Fatal hesitation. Then she tried to pull away. No, I can't. I have to help. Carter yanked her back hard. She hit her head on the doorframe. The sound was sickening. She went limp. Isabelle, Isabelle. Carter's voice shifted from manipulation to panic. Oh God, Isabelle, wake up. Please wake up. She didn't. The video continued for another minute. Carter on the phone with his father, voice shaking. Dad, I messed up. I messed up bad. Isabelle's not moving. You have to come. You have to fix this. Then the camera cut out. Darius sat there staring at his laptop screen, feeling sick. Carter hadn't just been driving drunk. He'd caused his sister's paralysis by trying to keep her quiet. And the family had covered up all of it. A knock on his door. Isabelle's automated voice through the door. Darius, can I come in? He closed the laptop. Yeah. She wheeled in looking exhausted. Like she hadn't slept either. It's almost 9, she said through her phone. You need to go to my mother's study soon. I know. Have you decided? Darius looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd been betrayed by her own brother, silenced by her own family, trapped in her own body because she'd tried to do the right thing. Evelyn gave me something last night, he said. Evidence. From the accident. Isabelle went very still. What kind of evidence? The kind that proves everything. That shows Carter was driving drunk. That shows him causing your injuries. That clears Morrison completely. Oh. The automated voice was flat, but her face had gone pale. And you're going to use it? I don't know. You should destroy it. Why? Because if you don't, my family will destroy you? They'll make sure Elijah never gets his surgery. They'll ruin any chance you have of saving him. But I could save you. And Morrison. I don't need saving. She typed quickly, angrily almost. I made my choice 2 years ago. I chose silence. I chose survival. And I can live with that. Can you? Darius moved to crouch beside her wheelchair. Because from where I'm sitting, you're not living. You're just existing. Waiting in this white room surrounded by dying plants for something to change. But nothing's going to change unless someone makes it change. That someone can't be you. You have a son. And you're someone's daughter, someone's sister. You matter too. Not as much as he does. The automated voice was too loud. Isabelle grabbed her phone, lowered the volume, typed more. Please, Darius, take the deal. Save Elijah. Let me go. I can't. Why not? Because last week you were a stranger, someone I married for money, someone I thought I could keep at arm's length emotionally while I did my job and collected my check. But then I got to know you, saw you, heard you, and you're not a stranger anymore. You're someone who matters, someone who deserves better than this prison her family built. Tears were streaming down Isabelle's face. Don't do this. Don't make me hope. Why not? Because hope hurts more than despair. Despair is familiar. Hope is dangerous. Maybe dangerous is exactly what we need. A knock on the door. Catherine's voice sharp and impatient. Darius, it's 9 a.m. Come to my study, now. Isabelle grabbed his hand. Please, she whispered. Not through the phone. Her actual voice hoarse and broken from disuse. Please don't sacrifice your son for me. Darius looked at her hand in his. Looked at her face wet with tears. Looked at his laptop with the evidence that could free her. Then he stood. I have to go. What are you going to tell her? I don't know yet. He walked out of his room down the hallway through the mansion that felt more like a mausoleum. Past oil paintings of Sterling ancestors who'd probably all made similar deals with their own consciences. Catherine's study door was open. She sat behind her desk, James beside her. Carter on the couch, his lips still swollen from Darius's punch. The lawyer in the corner. Mr. Cole? Catherine gestured to the chair in front of her desk. Sit. Let's hear your decision. Darius sat. Put his hands on his knees to stop them from shaking. Before I answer, he said, I need to ask you something. This isn't a negotiation. It's not. It's just a question. Darius looked at Carter. Did you know you paralyzed your sister? The room went silent. Carter's face drained of color. What? The accident. When you pulled her back into the car, when she hit her head. Did you know that's what caused her spinal injury? Not the crash. You. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And so do your parents. Because they paid the doctors to lie about when the injury occurred. Paid them to say it was impact trauma when it was actually you trying to keep her quiet. James stood. Mr. Cole, I don't know where you're getting this information. Dash cam video from Carter's car, the one your lawyers made disappear, except someone kept a copy, and I have it now. Catherine's mask slipped entirely. Pure calculation showed through. You're bluffing. Am I? Darius pulled out his phone. Want to watch it? I've got it right here. Crystal clear footage of your son driving drunk, running a red light, hitting James Morrison's truck, and then assaulting your daughter when she tried to help. All time-stamped, all admissible in court. That's illegal evidence. The lawyer finally spoke. It was sealed by court order. Was it? Or did it just disappear before any court ever saw it? Darius looked at Catherine. Either way, I've got it. And copies. In multiple secure locations. So here's my counteroffer. You drop the deal. You let me care for Isabelle without interfering. You help clear James Morrison's name. And you make sure Carter faces actual consequences. Do all that and the video stays private. And your son's surgery? Catherine's voice was ice. You're willing to let him die for this? That was the question, wasn't it? The one Darius had been wrestling with all night. The impossible choice between Elijah's life and everyone else's freedom. No, Darius said quietly. I'm not willing to let my son die. But I'm also not willing to bury evidence of a crime to save him. So here's what's going to happen. I'm taking this video to the district attorney. Today, I'm telling them everything. And then I'm setting up a GoFundMe for Elijah's surgery. And I'm going to trust that there are enough good people in the world who'll help a sick kid without demanding I sell my soul as payment. Catherine laughed, cold and sharp. You're delusional. A GoFundMe. You need almost $500,000. Then I need almost $500,000. But I'm not getting it from you, not like this. You're condemning your son to death. No, I'm choosing to believe there's another way, even if I can't see it yet. Darius stood, walked toward the door. We'll sue you, James shouted. We'll take everything. I don't have anything to take. That's kind of the point. We'll have you arrested for theft. Of evidence you illegally suppressed, good luck with that. He reached the door, turned back. For what it's worth, I feel sorry for you all. You have everything money can buy and nothing money can't. And you're so terrified of losing it that you'll destroy your own daughter to keep it. That's not wealth. That's poverty. He walked out, made it halfway down the hall before his legs gave out, and he had to lean against the wall to stay upright. He'd done it. He'd chosen truth over his son, chosen principle over survival, and he had no idea if it was the right choice or the worst mistake of his life. But it was done. A hand on his shoulder. He turned. Isabelle was there, tears streaming down her face. You idiot, she said out loud, her voice breaking. You beautiful, stupid idiot. Then she grabbed his face and kissed him. Not gentle, not careful. Desperate and grateful and terrified all at once. When they broke apart, they were both crying. I'm sorry, Darius said. I'm so sorry. I couldn't. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize for being the first person in 2 years who chose me over money. But Elijah, we'll figure it out. Together. We'll do the GoFundMe. We'll call news stations. We'll tell your story. People help. Sometimes they really do help. And if they don't, Isabelle took his hand. Then at least you tried. At least you stood for something. That matters, Darius. More than you know. They stood there in the hallway, two people who'd been strangers a week ago, holding on to each other like the world was ending. Maybe it was. Or maybe it was just beginning.